everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the Police Show. Uh, Daniel here. As always, if you found your way here, you probably already know who I am, but you can reach me at Echo Spider. As you know, I'm part of the podcast, the Next Issue podcast. We release episodes on a weekly basis, but we really record bi-weekly, a little behind the scenes. This last week on Wednesday, we released the episode. Clay, Josh, and I talked about some what we consider to be underrated comics, like some comics that are worth revisiting that maybe not enough people are aware of. So if you're interested in stuff like that, you can check out our podcast. It's on Apple Podcast and pretty much any other podcast catcher. I think maybe not like Spotify. We're not on there yet. But you can find the links at Next Issue Pod on Twitter, or you can find us on Facebook at Next Issue Podcast if you want to go check out the episode. It was very good. We also have a very good episode coming up for next week, but I won't go into too much detail. Just know that Clay, Josh, and I had a really good time recording that as well. Um, okay, so we'll get started. We'll get started with indie comics this week. As you can see here, we got a really cool number one. If you're familiar with Valiant Properties, you'll recognize that this is Quantum and Woody. Let's see. So I haven't picked up a Valiant book since Ninja K was canceled, or not canceled, since it came to an end. But Quantum and Woody, I have read. I have read some Quantum and Woody in the past, and I enjoyed it. I think their relationship. Oh, I guess a little quick background if you're not familiar. Quantum and Woody are two siblings that, after an accident of like comic book science stuff, they gain powers, but they also wear these bracelets that they have to clang them together every 24 hours, or they'll get disintegrated. As one does. But okay, here we go. The credits are in the first page. It looks kind of like a Twitch stream or like a Reddit. I don't know. But this Quantum and Woody number one is written by Christopher Hastings with art by Ryan Brown. If you're not familiar with Ryan Brown, his comic book with Charles Soule Kurzwurst just finished recently in the past few months, with colors by Ruth Redmond and Hassan Otmane Eadu on letters. Ooh, sorry about that. This is the Dave Johnson variant cover that I picked up. I think I like the other cover too, but I'm a big fan of Woody, so him being front and center in the cover, really, really just I really wanted to have that one. Next up is Redneck number 25. This is chapter 1 of 6 of the Tall Tales arc. This is written by Donny Cates, with art by Lisandro Esteren, D. Cunniffe in colors, and Joe Sabino on letters. We hadn't had an issue of Redneck in a little while, so I may not have talked about it on the show. This book is pretty much about vampires that live in Texas. So if you're into that, if you like vampires, if you live in Texas and want a comic book about Texas, you should check this out. This is from Image Comics, and I'll be very interested in seeing what you guys think about that. I'll save the other one for last. Then we have Something is Killing the Children. What number is this? I think it's number 5. Hold on one second. I wish there would be a conventional place where we put the credits. Here we go. Yeah, this is number 5. Written by James Tynion IV, who's currently writing Batman at DC as well. Illustrated by Werther Dell'Edera, with colors by Mikel Muerto and letters by Annual Design. This is from Boom Studios. This is actually a variant cover for the book. By the time I got to the shop, I forgot to put this on my pull list. So by the time I got to the shop, there was only like variants left. Um, so so that's what I picked up. But this book's also very interesting. James Tynion, I think it's a really good horror writer, and the art really fits the book. So I definitely encourage you guys to check that out if horror is something you're interested in. Now the last book I picked it up because it's a number one that came out this week. It's called Protector from Image Comics as well. It looks like it's a 1 out of 5. It's a miniseries with 5 issues. It is written by Simon Roy and Daniel Benson, drawn by Artyom Trakanov, and colored by Jason Wardy, with letters by Hassan Otame Elo. Oh, sorry about that again. Uh, and this cover is actually by James Stocco. James Stocco, if you're not familiar, he's done some really cool stuff like Godzilla, The Half Century War. He's a writer and an artist. He's also done Aliens Dead Orbit, which I'm very excited to revisit this year as part of the I Read Comic Books reading challenge. That's a podcast I listen to about comics, so go check that out. But this book, so I picked it up because I know nothing about it, but I saw that it was a Stocco cover, and I felt like I had to check it out. As I've mentioned before, I'm a sucker for number ones. I can probably fill up a short box, no, maybe a long box, with just number ones that I picked up because I want to check out a series. A lot of the times I'll just kind of wait for the series to go to trade, but it's always kind of cool to have a number one, or at least have a physical book for whenever creators come around. I can actually go and get something, get them to sign it, and then have a conversation with them. But bringing the book to a creator to get signed is kind of like the icebreaker, because I mean you have an icebreaker because you're reading the work, but that's all for the independent books. So we got 2 Image books, 1 Boom Studios, and 1 Valiant book. I hope that Quantum and Woody's good. I haven't read it. I enjoyed the last iteration that came out in 2012, but I didn't finish reading it, so we'll see. I'm not very familiar with the team, but I'm looking forward to checking it out because they're really fun characters. Next up, it's an oversized book, not fully oversized, but it is oversized. It is the Detective Comics Annual #3. Yeah, so it was $4.99, so it should be about 40 pages, 40 to 50 pages. I think 10 cents a page is about the going rate for comics. I'm looking for the credits because I don't think this is by Tomasi. And oh jeez, I should really look at to see where the credits are before I do the show, but I never know when I'm gonna have time to go live. So it just kind of happens. I don't see the credits here. Oh, I guess it is written by Peter Tomasi. But I wish I could find the rest of the. I really like the art in this book, but I don't know. Here we go. Yeah, so Peter Tomasi on writing, Sumit Kumar on artist. He's the artist. Romulo Fajardo Jr. on colors, and Tom Napolitano on letters, with a cover by Steve Rude. So here's the cover. Take a look at that. Um, it's a Batman book, so I gotta pick it up. There's no that's kind of a non-argument there. The next book, I've been pretty excited to pick it up. It is the finale of the Justice League and Legion of Doom War storyline. So this is Justice League 39, written by Scott Snyder, with art by Jorge Jimenez, Daniel Sampere, and Juan Albaran, Alejandro Sanchez, and Hi-Fi on colors, and Tom Napolitano on letters, with a cover by Tyler Kirkman and Arif Prianto. So Justice League is one of the last DC books that I am picking up because Scott Snyder's on it mainly. I do love Jimenez's art as well, though. I'm behind on the story as far as reading what the the actual war, but I'm pretty much like at the beginning of the Justice League Legion of Doom war. So if you've been reading this book, you'll know that it's kind of like it's a giant. Like there's so many things going on. But that's about it for the DC books. Not a lot this week, like I've mentioned in past streams. I'm not picking up a lot of DC comics just because, you know, if you're not giving me the digital code, I don't have an incentive to pick up single issues where I can, because I wait to read them anyways, right? Like I wait for the full story to be out. So at that point, I might as well just wait for the trade. Um, all right, moving on to Marvel. We'll start with the X-Men books. This is New Mutants number 6. It brings us to the conclusion of the first arc of the Dawn of X. This part is focused on the next gen kids, Herman and like Armor, Boom Boom, uh, Maxine and Madden, which they're really cool twins. This one's written by Ed Brisson with art by Flaviano, Carlos Lopez on colors, and Travis Lanham on letters, with a fantastic cover by Rod Reis. Um, like I said, I very much enjoyed. We got 3 issues with the New Mutants, with the old school New Mutants, and then we got 3 issues with the story of what's going on with I call them the next gen kids because I don't know exactly where they appeared on the X-Men timeline. I just know that I really enjoyed them as a group, like Herman Glob and Armor, like all those characters that kind of came about after Grant Morrison's run on the X-Men, I think. All right, next up, and I'll just read the credits first and then move the comic books. So this is X Force number 6. Once again, this is the end of the arc. Written by Benjamin Percy, Steven Segovia, Guru FX on colors, and Joe Carmagna on letters. This book it does have a parental advisory warning. So unlike most of the books that I talk about here, this one is for a bit of an older audience, just because there is a lot more violence and other themes that the book kind of touches on. I don't think it's anything too graphic, but I can understand why this book gets the parental advisory. Uh, this is another story that was very interesting. It kicked off with a bang with I'll say an assassination attempt, and it was an attempt against the new nation of Krakoa with the mutants. So as you may be familiar with the X Forces, the undercover team that kind of just takes care of problems for the mutants. So that's what this book is, and that's what this book promised, and it delivered on that. So and once again, I really enjoyed this. Um, Next up is a book that unfortunately was delayed, but we have it here now. X-Men number 5 by Jonathan Hickman, with art by R.B. Silva, with Marte Gracia on colors and Clayton Cowles on letters. And if I'm not mistaken, with a cover by Lenio Yu and Sonny Cho. If you're not reading any of the X-Men books and you just want to know what's going on with the overarching story of the X-Men as a whole, this is probably the book to read. That being said, it's not out of the 6 books that are currently out, it's not my favorite X-Men book, just because there's characters in other books that I like more. I'm looking at you, Marauders. But like I said, if you just want like the core X-Men, like the ones Cyclops, Jean, Wolverine, Professor X, Magneto, like if you want those core X-Men with a surrounding cast and just a really interesting things going on, this is the book to read. Let me show you guys one page out of context. Here, here. I hope that shows up okay in the stream. Just look at this splash page. Like there, there's so much going on in this book that I really, once the arc is fully out, I'm gonna go back and reread it. There's a lot of layers. It's very dense with story and like little details in the background. But I definitely recommend it. The last X-Men book. So this is the fourth X-Men book, which it should have been three, but like I mentioned, this one was delayed from last week. So this is the conclusion of this book, Fallen Angels, number 6. So this book is actually, I think this was always planned to be a miniseries. So I'm not gonna say it's canceled. It's just over. Like even like it's called conclusion. So obviously they planned this to end with this issue. Written by Brian Hill, with art by Simon Krudansky, Frank DeMarta on colors, and Joe Sabino on letters. This is the book that followed Psylocke, the new young Cable, and Laura X-23 or Wolverine, or Laura Kinney, whatever you want to call her. Another amazing cover by Ashley Witter, who's one of my favorite cover artists. I love the stuff she was doing, or yeah, that she's been doing on Dr. Afra, and then this book as well. Um, yeah, this book it was a more this book is definitely something that you can read on its own. It's the only book I would kind of recommend you picking up as a trade if you weren't able to pick up all 6 books when they launched for the X-Men. This is the one that I can tell you it has the least consequences with the overall X-Men world, but it's still a fun story. It's still a good story. It's an interesting look at Psylocke as a character now that she's separated um, from Elizabeth Braddock. Yeah, from so if you're interested in Psylocke, if that's a character that you like, then definitely go pick this book up once it's out in trade. I think this will read a lot better as a trade than week to week. I think that was one of my main things that I got out of this book because it's such an isolated story. I think I'm gonna go back and reread it as a one thing now that everything is out. So I have read all those X-Men books. I'll leave the 2 books that I read until the end. Um, we got another number 1, um, Avengers of the Wastelands. This book, let's see. I thought it was yeah okay yeah. So this story takes place in the Old Man Logan universe. So if you're familiar with the Old Man Logan story, I think Mark Millar wrote that. I want to say 2007, 2008. If you're familiar with that Old Man Logan story in that Old Man Logan universe, this story takes place there. So the main kind of setup of the story is that all the heroes that you knew, like they lost, the villains wiped everyone out. Not everyone, but they wiped a lot of the heroes out. Then that led to the story of Old Man Logan with Wolverine kind of being retired and having to come back and do something. Then that follows Old Man Hawkeye, which was kind of a series that was a prequel to Old Man Logan, but followed Hawkeye instead. And then the notes here, I haven't read this issue, um, but it mentions that this takes place after Old Man Quail, which is the Peter Quill like from Guardians of the Galaxy story in this universe, and it takes place after Dead Man Logan, which I believe it's Marvel's maxi series of 12 issues on how to get Logan back to this universe because Old Man Logan was in the normal Marvel 616. This is written by Ed Brisson, who's also doing New Mutants, so I definitely wanted to check it out. With art by Jonas Sharf and Niraj Menon on colors and Corey Petit on letters. So as you can see here on the cover, we have a Thor analog. I'm not sure who that is. I mean it's Thor because it looks like it's holding Mjolnir. Then we have a Hulk and we have an Ant-Man. Who those people and like who the actual characters behind the mask or behind the names might be, I'm not sure yet because I haven't read it. I need to go catch up on Old Man Quill and Dead Man Logan. Uh-oh, Wonder Woman's going now. Wonder Woman fell. Um, yeah, so I need to go back and read those first. Or I don't have to, but I want to. And then I wanted to get this number one just to check it out after that. So if you want to know what I think of those stories, you can follow me on Twitter at Echo Spider or Instagram at Echo Spider. I normally put kind of like a short thing of like what I thought about it there. So next up, Marvel's doing these books called The End, where it kind of takes a character and it gives you like their last story. I think if you watch the show, we had, oh maybe I didn't, maybe that was a week I didn't do it. We had a story about Venom. Um, this week I picked up two of those, The End stories. The first one is Captain Marvel, The End, written by Kelly Thompson, who's currently writing the Captain Marvel series, with art by Carmen Carnero, David Curiel on colors, and Travis Lanham on letters. And uh, this cover that I picked up, it's actually the variant by Peach Momoko. I'm not familiar with their work, but I really like the cover. It's very anime looking, kind of. It's Captain Marvel in the suit that she currently is wearing in the main universe and the movies and stuff. So I'm looking forward to this. I like Kelly Thompson's work. If this is anything like the other end books that I've read, I need to find a better way to put those posters up. Um, okay, next up, this is the other book that I haven't read, but I have to pick it up. It's Star Wars number 2. Oh, forgot to look at the credits. I should know who this is by though. By Charles Soule, written by Charles Soule, with art by Jesus Saiz, Arif Pianto on colors, and Clayton Cowles on letters, with RB Silva and Guru FX doing the cover. As I mentioned when I picked up number 1, this takes place after in between movies 4 and 5, or episode 4 and 5 of Star Wars. Wait, no, sorry. It takes place between 5 and 6. Yeah, episode 5 and 6. So if you're a Star Wars fan, if you like Charles Soule, pick it up. It's a very good book. Even though I haven't read it, and I can tell you it's a good book. Charles Soule just gets Star Wars. He understands Star Wars very well. All right. Next up, it's another book that this one I did read it. Where I'm telling you, the credits on these books are all over the place, and I can never seem to find them right away. I know the writer. The writer on this book, Doctor Strange: The End, is Leah Williams. I know that because she's currently one of my favorite writers at the moment. And it's really funny to see how that kind of changes. Good God. This is the. I might as well just read the comic to you guys because I might have to go through all the pages to find the credits. Oh my goodness. And this is the variant cover, so it doesn't even have. I don't have the information of the. It's gotta be. Oh, there it is. I knew it was at the end. Okay. Yeah. Doctor Strange: The End by Leah Williams, with art by Felipe Andrade, Chris O'Halloran on colors, and Clayton Cowles on letters. This cover that I picked up is the variant by Felipe Andrade, who's the artist inside the book. Um, I, I I definitely like when the art in the cover looks like the art of what's inside of the book. This I'm not a big Doctor Strange reader, as you may have seen in the past few shows. Like I'm not really picking up anything Doctor Strange. Although with the next book, I might pick up some magic related stuff. But I love Leah Williams' writing. I think everything she's doing is very good. I just finished When Pull Strikes Back. and now we have this. It's just a story about Doctor Strange and Into the Future and what that means for him and being the Sorcerer Supreme. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check it out. And the last book, last but definitely not least, Thor #2, uh, by Donny Cates, with art by Nick Klein, Matt Wilson in colors, and Joe Sabino on letters, with a cover by Olivier Copiel and Laura Martin. Uh, this book just rocks. Like, it's, I mentioned it before. It's hard to think that after Jason Aaron's run, that we could continue to get just really cool stories about Thor. But I'm very much enjoying this. I really don't want to go into details because I don't want to spoil anything from this book. Just the only thing I'll say is Galactus is in this book. So if that interests you, go check it out. The other really cool thing is that this book came with a preview for Strange Academy, which is a book that's coming out soon. It's kind of like the school for mutants, but instead of mutants, is for people that are magically gifted. And it looks like it's gonna be fantastic. Scotty Young is writing it. Humberto Ramos is on art. If any of those things sound like something you like something you've liked in the past, I'm sure you're gonna like this book. It is very good. I really enjoyed it. I'll show you a a page that I captured. Let's see. Well, I guess it was a little better on digital because it does zoom in. But let's see if you can see that. So here, the page at the bottom of this panel, you have some of the potential teachers for this book, like potential teachers at this academy, and that includes Magic, Scarlet Witch, Damien Hellstrom, who the other two guys? Nico Minura from the Runaways, and Shaman. So if any of that stuff that I just mentioned, Scotty Young, Humberto Ramos, the magic stuff, the school aspect of the story, Doctor Strange is obviously going to be in it. Brother Voodoo's in it. If any of that stuff kind of just it appeals to your sensibilities as a comic book reader, make sure to go pull the Strange Academy. It's coming out soon. Let me see if I can tell you when it comes out. It comes out in March. So definitely try to go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it if you like magic in the Marvel universe. But that's about it. That's all we have now. Stay tuned to Twitter because we will name the winners of the Thor giveaway. Like I mentioned at the last show, the my comics store owner, not my comic book, but the shop I go to, the owner gave me a Thor #1 signed by Donny Cates because he was here 2 weeks ago and I wasn't able to attend. So I had an extra digital code, so I wanted to pass that on to the good people that kind of follow the podcast and listen to the streams and do all this kind of stuff. So we'll name the winner. The contest ended last night on Friday, the 31st of January. So hopefully that'll mean that somebody gets to read Thor #1 and they'll jump on the bandwagon. That's all we have for this week. Once again, you can find me at Echo Spider on Twitter. You can follow the podcast at Next Issue Pod on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at the Next Issue Podcast, which we'll post different things like what we're looking for, what we're looking towards in the week, and fun stuff, fun things that come out, comics related, movie stuff that's comic related. We'll post art and then things that we're doing around town. Like today, there's an art show for Marvel, DC, Harry Potter, Disney stuff, so I'm gonna go check that out. Other than that, thank you for watching. These videos go up on YouTube after a little bit after. Today is gonna take a little bit longer for me to just cut this up and edit it and put it up. because I do have some stuff going on for the rest of the day, but it'll be out soon on YouTube. Make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating if you can. We have another episode coming Wednesday. I'm hoping we have a surprise interview / guest maybe, but I'm not gonna make any promises right now just because we don't have confirmation on that. And let us know what you want us to kind of talk about. Some of the things that are upcoming once Adrian and Kyle are able to rejoin the normal cadence of us recording. We're going to talk about the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earth and the end of Arrow. We're going to talk about War of the Realms as a whole, the event. We're working hard kind of reading that. And, but other than that, let us know what kind of stuff you want us to talk about, what topics interest you as a comic reader or like just as a comics fan in general. So thank you for joining us. This has been Daniel. And go read comic books. Like, that's all I can tell you.